Alright, I'm re-recording the beginning again, but I'm doing the whole fucking movie version this time. Because if I don't, I'm never gonna finish the what if, and y'all been waiting 2 months for this shit, so. Yeah, let's get started. The story begins, like, several years before the Ninetales attack, back when Kushina was a child, you know. She's being brought to the village, getting ready to become the Ninetales Jinchuriki. And when she goes and meets Mito Uzumaki, you know, her granddaughter is with her, you know, because Mito, she's old and she's effectively on her deathbed. She's only got like a few more months. And so Tsunade, seeing Kushina, understanding exactly who she is and who she's going to be, it's just like, I see, I understand. And Mito and Kushina get close, but as well as Kushina and Tsunade in this timeline, because the care for Mito Uzumaki, you know, even though the Ninetales has been transferred to Kushina at a certain point, they still took care of Mito together for several months afterwards. It was unfortunate for Tsunade. She lost her grandmother, but at least she made a new friend. Now, over the next few years, Tsunade and Kushina actually become very close. However, after Kushina and Minato end up in a relationship, they start drifting apart. But that close bond they had will never disappear. And things remain kind of distant between the two for the next several years. Eventually, Minato and Kushina end up getting pregnant. Kushina's pregnant. And so Tsunade actually comes back to the village specifically to congratulate Kushina on her pregnancy. And then we will time skip again to the night of the Ninetales attack. During that night, you know, before she went into labor and everything, Kushina was actually talking to Tsunade, and she's just like, you know, you're my best friend in reality, and I'd like you to be Naruto's godmother. And Tsunade honestly doesn't say anything, just starts crying. Like, not like that, like bawling, but like that silent cry, like tears just streaming down her face. And Kushina, you know, gives Tsunade a hug, but right after, you know, her water breaks and she starts going into labor. She's then brought to the cave with Minato and stuff, and Minato's holding the seal and everything. Eventually, Obito arrives, you know, breaking the seal, releasing the Ninetales, and then things remain relatively canon up until Kushina's death. Kushina has died, and Tsunade ends up coming across around the same time Hiruzen gets there. And she immediately starts crying and panicking. She's trying to heal Kushina. She keeps trying to heal her and heal her and heal her, but nothing's working. She's just not getting healed, and that's when Tsunade is forced to accept Kushina's gone. And that's when she looks over at Naruto and ends up looking at Hiruzen right after, and it's just like, I'm gonna take him. And Hiruzen's just like, we can't just let you. And she's just like, I'm a Sanin, I'm loyal to the village, and I'm his godmother. You have no reason to say I can't. And Hiruzen, knowing he will get backlash from the elders and Danzo, understands more than just Naruto needs a caregiver who truly cares about him, understands that Tsunade needs this as much as Naruto does. And Hiruzen lets Tsunade go because his soft spot for his student. Tsunade ends up taking Naruto away, and they don't even remotely come back to the village for several years. Eventually, you know, Naruto's around 4 years old, and he's already started his hustle. Alright? He started gambling because he got addicted to it because of his quote-unquote mother. That's what he views Tsunade as, and he views Shizune as a big sister. So he's getting like the gambling, but Shizune's trying to like keep him on the straight and narrow. And Naruto is developing this hyper intelligence. His intellect is far above most people. He already understands more about jutsus than Shizune, and almost on par with Tsunade. And Naruto is, you know, scamming people out of their money already, you know, placing rigged bets, stuff like that. And Tsunade is honestly kind of proud, and Shizune is just like, don't be proud of him. He's not supposed to be doing any of this stuff. And Tsunade is just like, what? He's a genius. You ain't gonna stop him, are you? And Shizune is just facepalm. She's just like, oh my god, I'm raising 2 children. And Tsunade is like, hey, who are you calling a child? But after that, Naruto decides he wants to learn more about jutsus, etc., etc. And Tsunade, thinking it'll tie him over for a little while, tells him about the Shadow Clone Jutsu, even the multi-Shadow Clone, and tells him to try and figure that out. Naruto takes him not even a week to figure out how to use it and everything without even any advice, anything. It was just, it's this, and Naruto figured it out in a week. So that's just to show how smart Naruto actually is in this timeline. He ends up learning the summoning jutsu. He ends up getting Lady Tsunade to summon Lady Katsuyu, and he also can summon her, but he didn't want to. Stuff like that. Eventually, he's talking to Lady Katsuyu, and he's discussing like summoning jutsu and sealing jutsu and seeing if he can figure out a way to meld the two, stuff like that, because it seems like a fun idea. Lady Katsuyu is, getting to theoreticals and stuff like that, and Naruto's just like, alright, let's try this. And so Naruto does a few hand signs, the summoning jutsu hand signs, uses his 100 seals, because he's already learned how to start putting chakra into that, and kind of intertwines the two and hits the summoning jutsu. But with a little bit of mix from Kurama's chakra and his, chakra technically being Ashura's, stuff like that, with a little bit of mix of fate, he accidentally summons a gambling room. And they're all just kind of stood there with jaws just dropped, mouths agape, just like, what the fuck? And this is over the span of several years, I want to make that clear. This isn't all happening when he's 4 years old. This is happening everywhere from 4 to 12. All right, so that's the range that all this is happening. You can make the time skips however you like. But yeah, he ends up summoning an entire gambling room, and something he ends up figuring out after a lot of training with Shizune, Lady Katsuyu, and Tsunade is outside the gambling room. He can actually summon doors and stuff from that gambling room. He can summon without doing any hand signs or anything. It's completely based off his intent and using chakra that he is putting in his seal. And everybody's just fascinated with what this actually means, the theoretics, stuff like that. But unfortunately, none of them are actually as smart as Naruto when it comes to jutsus anymore. Naruto's skies above them. He's even surpassing Lady Katsuyu, really. That's just where Naruto's intelligence when it comes to jutsus is. He does have a very strategic mind, but it's a little less than Shikamaru. He's not quite as strategically smart as Shikamaru is, but he's definitely up there. Anyways, after all that time passes, Naruto actually, is chilling when one day Tsunade enters his room. It's just it's time. Naruto's like, it's time for what? And Tsunade tells Naruto they're going back to Hidden Leaf Village and she's leaving him there. And Naruto's like, what? What do you mean you're leaving me there? She's just like, you're going to the academy for the final year. And just so you can get to know your classmates before you're put on a squad with them. I already know you're stronger than all of them, most likely, but you need to know them. Naruto, honestly, is just like, I bet. He understands Tsunade's point of view on the whole situation and all that. So he looks at Tsunade and is like, okay. Okay, then I guess. Yeah, alright. And Tsunade is honestly kind of shocked of how Naruto received this information. Sorry if there's any background noise, it's my dog. After Tsunade ends up bringing Naruto back to the Hidden Leaf Village, she leaves him there, and then she just leaves immediately because she does not want to be there. Because to her, the Leaf Village is just a place of pain. Because her brother and her fiance both wanted to be Hokage. They were killed. Naruto's mother, Kushina, who she viewed as a sister, was killed. It's just, it brings nothing but bad memories for Kushina. For Tsunade, sorry, not Kushina. But at the end of the day, Tsunade does not want to be there any longer than she needs to be. So she drops off Naruto, tells him goodbye, gives him a kiss on the cheek or the forehead, wherever you want it to be, and pieces out. Naruto kind of gets it. He knows that she's lost a lot of people to the Hidden Leaf and in the Hidden Leaf and stuff like that. So Naruto doesn't have any sort of hard feelings, but something you need to understand about Naruto in this timeline is he's developed this more gruff attitude to himself. Personality-wise, he's a lot more like Hikari than he is Naruto in this timeline. And so whenever he pulls up to his classroom on the first day of school, he's like, yo, I want you all to fight me, because they already figured out how his summoning jutsu works. And so he's just like, I'm gonna fight you guys. And Iruka comes in and it's just like, no you won't. Naruto's like, why? Iruka explains, you can't do that, but then Iruka does think about it, and he's just kind of like, wow, I mean, it would be nice to know, where he is power-wise. I've heard he's strong, but I don't know how strong, I don't know what to teach him, stuff like that. And so he's just like, okay, you can go against our current best student, Sasuke Uchiha. And Sasuke is like, I bet. And what you need to understand about Naruto's fighting style in this timeline is he surrounds his fist in chakra, kind of like the way Tsunade's works, but he manages to actually exert the chakra outside of his skin, and the chakra forms serrated blades basically. So even if he misses, if his chakra hits, it'll cut the enemy, right? And so he decides to start boxing Sasuke, kind of figuring out where he's at. Hit him with the wombo combo, 1-2-3 punch, 1-2, 1-2-3, beating the shit out of Sasuke, even though he hasn't made direct contact once. And Sasuke's like, what the fuck is this? Does his whole hand signs, fireball jutsu! And Naruto Ash like, this shit weak as fuck. Is this all you got, bro? And that pisses Sasuke off. He tries to go in, to beat up Naruto, but Naruto's just kind of like, damn, I guess he really is weak. And he just throws him out of the ring whenever Sasuke tries to kick him. He catches the leg and just yeets him. And Iruka's kind of just like, wow, he really is strong, isn't he? And Naruto's like, duh, of course I'm strong. Did you think I wasn't? And Iruka's like, I thought they were exaggerating your abilities a little bit. But if everything they said is true, then you're literally only here to make friends, really. And Naruto's like, yeah, I already know everything you could want to teach me. I'm smarter than Lady Tsunade when it comes to jutsus and stuff like that. So teach me a little bit about history, but I know mostly about that too. And Naruto kind of gets this smirk, thinking he's better than everybody else currently. And he starts to get this condescension to him. And it pisses Sasuke off. Sasuke is always trying to pick a fight with Naruto after their battle, and Naruto just ignores him. But eventually Sasuke just bugs him one too many times, and Naruto's just like, what the hell is your problem, bro? Leave me alone. And Sasuke is like, well, how are you so strong? Blah, 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 blah. And Naruto's just like, I was raised by a legendary Sannin. How wouldn't I be strong? And Sasuke's kind of like, no, that makes sense. He's just like, wait, you were raised by a Sannin? And Naruto's like, yeah, Lady Tsunade, she's my mother, basically. And Sasuke's like, wow. Would you be willing to teach me a few things then? And Naruto's like, fuck no. I have no interest in teaching you nothing after you've been harassing me for a whole last month and a half. But then Naruto's just like, actually, let's do this. I'll flip a coin. Heads, I train you. Tails, I don't. He flips the coin. It lands on heads. And he's just like, well, fine. I guess I'll train you. Just so you know, I already trained with Shikamaru and Choji. And Sasuke's like, what, really? And Naruto's like, yeah, and they've made good progress as of late, so I wouldn't think I'm so far ahead of them if I was you. And Sasuke's like, no, I'm definitely still ahead of them. And it said, eventually, they make it to a training ground. And Naruto actually knows that Sasuke is a little bit too prideful. He definitely thinks he's still stronger than the others by a landslide. And that's when Naruto's just like, alright, Shikamaru, I want you to battle Sasuke. And Shikamaru's like, Mendokse. And Naruto's just like, get your lazy ass up. And Shikamaru's like, fine. But there's like a respect between the two for above everybody else. Like, Naruto like is kind and respects Choji even a little bit. But his respect for Shikamaru is really there because Shikamaru is the only person he's met so far, like outside of like Lady Katsuyu, Lady Tsunade, that properly challenges his intellect at all. And he realizes that Shikamaru, when it comes to strategy, he 100% surpasses Naruto himself, and Naruto respects this so much because it's the only thing that even remotely challenges him mentally, right? And so, anyways, Shikamaru and Sasuke get ready to battle, and I'm gonna just speed through this. Shikamaru whoops Sasuke. He uses his better taijutsu and jutsu use nowadays, after his month and a half of training with Naruto. As well as he's just got insane strategies, so he ends up just demolishing Sasuke. And Sasuke is kind of gets his ego checked, but it's not even in like a terrible way. Because I believe that this ego check will make Sasuke more receptive to criticism and stuff like that and failure. And so, anyways, after this, Naruto starts training Sasuke, but Sasuke asks to like if he can fight like Naruto, and Naruto is just like, absolutely not. The way I fight takes a lot of chakra, and I mean a lot, as well as I brute force a lot, and that's just not your style. You're not going to be able to brute force the same way I do. You're going to have to rely more on technique and skill over anything. Just because I can brute force something doesn't mean you can too. And Sasuke is kind of like understanding of this, and Naruto has actually begun to mix several martial arts styles. And he's become like unpredictable. You don't know how he's gonna run your fade, but he's gonna run it one way or another. And so after like a few weeks of training, Sasuke's gotten a lot better. And that's when Naruto does think about something. He's just like, I really hope I'm on a team with at least one of these three guys, because at least I know they're competent. Oh, for the love of God, don't let me be on a team with Sakura or Ino. They're fucking stupid. But that Hinata girl, I wouldn't mind her. She's kind of cute, She's a bit soft-spoken, yeah. And so, anyways, we'll time skip basically a year. And they're graduating. Everybody passes the graduation exams and they're all told their teams. Naruto's with Sakura and Sasuke. And so, anyways, they go sit down, wait for Kakashi, and Kakashi's 4 hours late. And that's when Naruto kind of walks up to Kakashi, just like, Ayo, what the fuck is your problem? Why are you so late? And Kakashi's like, damn, he already swearing? Crazy. And Kakashi's like, I got lost on the path of life. And Naruto's like, cut the bullshit. And Kakashi is just like, what bullshit? I'm speaking nothing but facts. And just begins tripling, quadrupling, quintupling down just to piss Naruto off. He 10 out of 10 rage baiter. And Naruto gets really fucking pissed. But either way, Naruto is just like, never mind. He goes, sits down. And Kakashi's like, alright, meet him on the roof. And then he asks them, what are your goals, your aspirations? What are your likes and dislikes? Blah, blah, blah. And Sasuke got his emo-ass response plus, I want to be as strong as Naruto. And then Sakura got her OD whack glazing of Sasuke. Bro, that shit was crazy. And Naruto's got, I want to be the strongest. Nothing more, nothing less. And Kakashi is like, that's a pretty big dream. And Naruto's just like, yeah, and I, alone, can accomplish it. And so, anyways, they finish that, and Kakashi's like, meet him the next morning, don't eat any food. And so, Naruto, Sakura, Sasuke, they go out, they go have some Ichiraku ramen. And yeah, they go home, and Naruto's just like, fuck that guy, I don't care. He eats in the morning. Sasuke, Sakura, they don't. But Naruto, he just does not give a flying fuck about what Kakashi has said. And so he pulls up, they're all waiting several hours for this, man. And Naruto, he doesn't even bother trying to argue with Kakashi because he knows it's just going to lead to nowhere. And that's when Kakashi explains what the bell test is and tells him, begin. And so Naruto goes and hides with the rest, and that's when he's like, alright, Sasuke, Sakura, this is the plan. And Naruto, being aware that he's currently the best taijutsu user, says he will go up and distract Kakashi properly. And Sasuke will end up, coming out a very unsuspecting moment and trying to, catch him off guard. But he's never to go for the bells. That is Sakura's job. Sakura's sole job is to go for the bells, especially when Sasuke pretends to go for them to distract him even more. And so Naruto, Sakura, Sasuke got their plan, and they go. Naruto runs out. He starts running Kakashi's fade. He starts boxing. Kakashi's just like, I can cleanly dodge this shit. He dodge and he weave. But Naruto, he doesn't actually need to make contact. He just needs to hit close enough. And Kakashi's getting confused because every punch Naruto throws, he dodges cleanly. It's just, he gets scrapes and cuts and stuff. And he's like, what the hell? Why is this happening? I don't get it. And that's when Sasuke out of nowhere comes in, hitting with the fireball jutsu, going straight for the bells. But then knowing Kakashi is about to reach down and catch his arm, he flips back, going for a kick onto Kakashi's head, and Kakashi ends up blocking that instead of stopping the bells. And that's when Sakura comes, because Kakashi's already busy with one hand, dodging and trying to block Naruto. He stops Sasuke, and that's when Sakura comes in and grabs the bells and stops. It's like, I got the bells. Kakashi's kind of just dumbfounded. He's like, that fast? Man, they worked really well together there. It's clear they had a plan, set. And they fulfilled it relatively well. Kakashi's like, that was solid teamwork. Now, the real test. There's only 2 bells. Which one of you will go home, and which of the other 2 will stay? And Naruto is standing there. He's just like, fuck it, I'll go home. It doesn't really bother me when I become a shinobi as long as I do one day. And even if I never become a genin, I can still be the strongest. And Kakashi is like, I see. And that's when the other 2 make arguments of why they should stay back. And that's when Kakashi is just like, you guys pass. And they're like, huh? And he's just like, those who abandon their mission, yes, they are scum. But those who abandon their friends are even worse than that. And they all just go, spitting facts. God damn. And so, they all go to Ichiraku Ramen, they get a good meal on them, and they proceed for the next few weeks to do D-rank missions. And that's when Naruto looks at Hiruzen the next time they're in the office, and he's just like, hey yo bro, why the hell are we still in D-ranks? We're all way too strong for that. You got Kakashi, who I'm still pretty sure I'm stronger than. We have never really gone all out against each other. We got Sasuke, who's strong enough, and we got Sakura, who has been getting stronger over the last few weeks. I think we can do better. And so Hiruzen just looks at Kakashi, and Kakashi's like, nah, the kid's kind of spitting facts. And Hiruzen's like, alright, you can have Tazuna. And Tazuna comes in, and he looks at Kakashi, he's like, he looks at Naruto, he's like, but he doesn't say anything because he feels like he'll get punched if he does. And he looks at Sasuke, he's like, okay. He looks at Sakura like, I don't know. Is she actually gonna do anything? I don't know. And so after all that, they get ready the next day to go on their mission. And that's when, walking along their path, one of the demon brothers appear, Naruto already knew they were coming. He's just like, a puddle, hasn't rained for days, shit ain't added up. And that's when they both are coming. Naruto immediately turns around and punches both of them in the face straight into the ground, knocking them out cold. And that's when Kakashi is just like, alright, let's do this. He wakes him up, a little slap on the face. He's just like, alright, blah, 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 blah. And that's when Kakashi actually looks over at Tazuna. It's just like, so, are you going to tell us the truth? Or am I going to have to interrogate you as well? Tazuna, he starts telling the truth. He's just like, hey, yo, I couldn't afford a more expensive mission, but this has to be done because we're under the thumb of a mob boss named Gato. And so Kakashi's just like, alright, we're going back. And Naruto's just like, what I'm hearing is I get to flex my strength. Kakashi's like, no. But then Sasuke and Sakura are both like, no, we have to fulfill this mission. And Kakashi thinking, okay, Naruto, he's definitely strong. Now I'm here, it should be fine. And so they continue on, and that's when Naruto and Kakashi both go, duck! And a big-ass sword starts swinging through the air right above them and lands into a tree. That's when you turn your head and you see Zabuza Momochi just up on a tree on the fucking sword, like, aura farming like his name is Piccolo. Don't know why I'm talking like that, but yeah, bro's aura farming like his middle name was Piccolo. It ain't. And so after he's done aura farming, they start fighting. He drops clones, all that. Kakashi, he ends up getting trapped in the end because he told the others to stay back. But Naruto, he just like, this ain't doing shit. Multi-shadow clone jutsu, and he just sprints at Zabuza. Zabuza ends up letting go, and blah blah blah. Gets his shit rocked. He's about to get stabbed, and that's when Haku saves him, the old generic shit, and takes him away. Naruto's like, interesting. That ain't no Anbu. You know that, right, Kakashi? And Kakashi's like, yeah, I know, but you just saw me get trapped. I can't deal with that right now. And so Kakashi's like panting. He's like, so we're just gonna continue on and make it to the village. They make it to the village. Kakashi goes to get some rest. Inari be on some bullshit. Naruto's like, shut the fuck up, you a little bitch. Not my fault. And so, anyways, Naruto, he as much as he pretends it didn't get to him, it kind of pissed him off, and he decides he's going to train harder and harder than ever. And eventually, one day, he trains a little too hard and kind of passes out. Crazy coming from him. But the reason he passed out was because, truthfully, he was just spamming his summoning jutsu, aka his domain expansion. He's spamming it, trying to get it to last longer, stuff like that. And he does end up getting it to last a little bit longer than normal. But when he wakes up, he sees this girl. A very beautiful girl. He's like, what's up? And Haku is just like, I'm a dude. He's just like, can't play slots without a lever. Anyways, Haku kind of blushes like, hey, yo. But then ends up saying his piece about Zabuza, like, you need someone to fight for. You can't only fight for yourself because it never works out. And Naruto's like, bars. And so, anyways, things remain relatively canonical. But this time, Naruto actually doesn't sleep in. He ends up going to the bridge at the right time, and that's when Zabuza and Haku pull up. Haku understanding that he's going to have to handle Naruto, which he already knows is pretty strong, and Sasuke, who's also strong enough in his own right, while Zabuza has to deal with Kakashi, who this time will not let his guard down the same way he did last. Haku doesn't waste any time, immediately opens the demon mirrors, And that's when Haku's kind of throwing Senbon, trying to at least take out one of them. She ends up hitting a nerve in or a pressure point in Sasuke's arm. Sasuke's arm goes limp, and Sasuke ends up starting to slow down. Naruto understanding that this will not be good if Haku targets him now that he can't dodge anything. So Naruto, he's like, shit, what to do. I know. And Naruto immediately just starts running up to the mirrors and starts punching him. And he ends up actually breaking a couple, but it didn't do enough. And that's when Naruto is just like, shit. Ends up summoning, not his domain expansion this time, but he's like hitting summoning jutsus, blocking Senbon with like windows, doors, stuff like that from the gambling room. And he's just like blocking them all, protecting Sasuke. And then Haku's like, well, I see you're holding your own, but how long can you keep this up for? And Naruto's like, you the baddie from the woods! And Haku's just like, you still know I'm a man, right? And Naruto's like, do I need to repeat myself? And Haku is just like, this fucking idiot. And so, anyways, Naruto starts trying to spit his game, you know, because he's like, damn, if there ain't no lever, I can't play my slots. I can't. But, just kept saying stupid shit, trying to, quote-unquote, riz up Haku. And Haku did blush a couple times, stuff like that. Eventually, Naruto is just like, this is getting tiresome, whatever. And so he hits him with the summoning jutsu, opening his domain. And so after he opens his domain, he's just standing there, and you just see the slots machine behind him go and go and go and go and go and go and go. Yes, sir. Eventually, after it finally hits the jackpot, Naruto just stops dodging. He just starts walking through them all, and he just starts trying to speed blitz Haku. He immediately jumps up to a mirror he sees, and ends up punching it and breaking it in one hit, and rinse and repeat, until he's breaking the mirrors faster than Haku can remake them, and eventually Haku has nowhere to go. And Naruto is like, I can't mess up your pretty face, hits him straight in the stomach into the ground, knocking him out cold. Now, Naruto understands Haku because of that one conversation they had in the woods. So when he sees Kakashi is about to kill Zabuza, Naruto's like, my domain is still open, so... Naruto actually ends up jumping in front of it, taking the Chidori for Zabuza. And he's kind of standing there with a Chidori in his back, so looking at Zabuza like, hey yo bro, we gonna have to calm this shit down. Haku's already knocked out, you're about to lose to Kakashi, now you have two options. You can either die, which I will help with, or you can join us. You probably wouldn't be allowed to do much, but you survive. And Haku, you know, I get the baddie, you know. And so, Zabuza actually thinks about it, and he just agrees. It ends up agreeing. Now, I have no intention of actually having Naruto end up with Haku. I thought it was kind of funny as a homage to Gaara. But I gotta be so honest, I have no interest in making up a weird-ass relationship between the two, so this is probably about the end of me even mentioning them. They just don't die. I do plan on having him just stay with canon, so I don't have to deal with all the romance stuff. He ends up with Hinata. I just don't want to have to deal with all the romancy stuff. And so, anyways, they end up heading back to the village with two people, and Hiruzen's just like, why are they here? Naruto and Kakashi explain, and Naruto's just like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And Kakashi ends up going to Naruto after they're done the explanation and everything. He's just like, what the fuck? And he says it exactly like that. He's just like, you just took a Chidori straight through the chest and you're okay? I don't understand. And Naruto's like, you don't need to. The way my ability works is a secret. And so Kakashi is like, uh-huh. He'll just ask Tsunade then. And Naruto's like, okay, go ahead. I don't care. And so Kakashi, you know, is chilling. He ends up asking them about the Chunin exams. They all agree. And after they all agree, then, you know, they start training for like the next week, you know, getting their teamwork down, asking Kakashi for some advice. Even though Naruto feels like he's got it all down pat, he also understands that you can have a bit of tunnel vision. You can't really see the bigger picture when you're the one inside of it. So, like, asking Kakashi for advice, watching their teamwork, stuff like that. And they feel very confident going to Chunin exams. However, the day before they go in, you know, they're walking through the village, you know, chatting, being confident, stuff like that. And that's when they hear a young boy, help! Help me! And that's when they turn the corner to see Konohamaru and Naruto. He immediately recognizes him. They might not have the same bond in this timeline as they did the original, but he's just like, oh shit, that's the third Hokage's grandson. This is not a good situation. You immediately see Naruto speed blitz. He immediately pulls up on Kankuro, punches him in the face, grabs Konohamaru, and lays him down behind him. And he's just like, the fuck do you think you're doing to the third Hokage's grandson? Are you trying to cause a war? Are you fucking stupid? And Kankuro is kind of like, oh shit, that was the third Hokage's grandson. And, ow! Shit, that hurt! Yeah, because, you know, he just got punched in the face by Naruto. Of course it's gonna fucking hurt. And Temari's like, why'd you punch... And Naruto's just like, you want to join? Do you want to join? And that's when Gaara's like, enough. But as he says that, he notices, standing behind him is Sasuke. He's just like, who exactly are you telling enough? Anyways, after that, you know, Gaara is just like, whatever, and just leaves with Kankuro and Temari. But he already hates them. And so they continue on with their day, blah, blah, blah. The test portion of the Chunin exams, y'all don't want to hear about that boring ass shit now, doll, does ya? So we'll skip past that. Then the regular Chunin exams, they've remained relatively canonical. They beat the shit out of like the 3 people that jump them at one point, stuff like that. But then it's the battle with Orochimaru. Now, this could go one of 2 ways. Yes, I'm pulling his other. I could either do Naruto opens his domain and is immune to anything Orochimaru does, or I could have Orochimaru speed blitz them. Now, in this timeline, Naruto isn't very reliant on Kurama. He knows he has the 9 tails, but like there's been little to no interaction between the two, like whatsoever. And so Naruto, thinking that he can run Orochimaru's phase, just like, I bet. And so he goes to try and fight Orochimaru. Truthfully, he's keeping up pretty well. And he understands. He's like, okay. He's definitely stronger than me. He's on par with Granny Tsunade or Mom or whatever the fuck you want to call her. Hey, Kuma. Anyways, so he's like, he's on par. That means, oh shit, this is Orochimaru. So he looks back at Sasuke and Sakura. He's just like, alright, you guys, you gotta run. And so he starts creating multi-shadow clone jutsu, making 100 clones. And he ends up just blocking the way, and they manage to get away. And Naruto, he's still there fighting Orochimaru. He ends up opening his domain so he can tank some hits. Orochimaru ends up stabbing Naruto with a few swords and stuff like that, biting him, trying to leave a curse mark on Naruto. But since his domain was opened and he had already hit his jackpot, none of it managed to work. And Naruto, he keeps holding back Orochimaru, and Orochimaru is just like, alright, this is not a good situation for me. I gotta get out of here. So Orochimaru, he just dips. And Naruto, realizing that he's getting really tired after that fight, it's just like, alright, fuck. And he kind of loses his balance, but he manages to catch himself. That's when he ends up running towards Sakura and Sasuke. And he knows where they are because when his clones disappear, obviously their memory and their knowledge go into him, right? And so he makes his way back to them, and he realized before he had left that Orochimaru had dropped the scroll. He grabs it and he makes his way back to them, and so he says they have the scrolls they need. And with these scrolls that they actually needed, they, go to the tower in the middle and they pass the first part. Without too much difficulty, there was a very close call with Orochimaru, but Naruto managed to clutch up and not get cooked. So they end up going to the second part, where things remain canonical, I'll be honest. Except Sakura destroys, Sasuke, wins his fight easily like he did in canon. And Naruto, he no-diffs Kiba. He just, boom, and he's gone. So, yeah. Anyways, so there's a month time skip, and honestly, they go their separate ways again, Sakura does whatever the fuck she does, Sasuke goes with Kakashi, and Naruto's kind of on his own. He's been training good on his own, and he continues to do so. But this time, he felt like he's done some good training. He's stretching. He's like, I'm gonna go get a good bath at the hot springs, soak up a little bit. And when he gets there, he sees this old man creeping on the women, and he's just like, hey, yo, old man, what you doing looking in on those women? And they see him, and they're like, and Jiraiya's like, how could you blow my cover? I was doing research. Blah, blah, and Jiraiya ends up looking at Naruto. He's like, you're Naruto, right? And Naruto's like, how do you know who I am? He's just like, well, I'm the other legendary Sannin. And Naruto's like, oh, you're the pervy sage. That's what Tsunade told me you were, basically. And Jiraiya's like, it just face palms, falls onto the ground on his face. It's just like, yeah, that's me. And Jiraiya's like, I would like to train you. And Naruto's just like, bet. Not any hesitation or nothing. He's just like, alright, I'm hella down to get some training from you. He's like, I trained with Tsunade, I've trained with Kakashi, I've trained people myself. You know, I would not mind learning from another legendary Sannin, especially if I can incorporate your fighting style into the way I fight. I am down. And Jiraiya's like, why do you talk like this? And Naruto's like, why wouldn't I? Jiraiya's like, touche. So Jiraiya trains Naruto for the next month, and he's just like, you know what? I've heard you're a master of jutsu, so can you learn this just by looking at it? And Jiraiya does the Rasengan, and Naruto's like, fascinating. Okay, you take chakra, you spin into a sphere, you managed. Okay, I think I can figure it out. I won't be able to get a first try because I'm not that insane, but take me a day, maybe, if that long. And Jiraiya's like, huh? He's like, okay, meet me in the forest in blah 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 place in a day and show me. And Naruto's like, all right, bet. Naruto, he's focusing on his hands, just like, all right. And he ends up forming a ball within the first, 4 hours. He's like, oh. I overthunk it, I guess. That was way easier than I thought it was going to be. So he ends up going to the spot, and he just sleeps there. Because he doesn't feel like going there the next day. And Jiraiya pulls up, and he's just like, oh, how long have you been here? He's just like, oh, since 20 hours ago. And Jiraiya's like, huh? Do you... And Naruto's just like, yeah, it only took me 4 hours to figure it out and get it going. And he proceeds to do a Rasengan in front of Jiraiya. It's just like, all right, anything else you want to teach me? And Jiraiya's like, oh, he's a different level. So, Naruto, would you like to learn Sage Jutsu? You can't learn it from Lady Katsuyu because she doesn't have a Sage mode, but the Toads do. And it doesn't mean you have to give up your summoning contract either. And Naruto's like, oh, I know I don't have to give up a summoning contract for one. I mean, I technically have two. One is just not with something living. And Jiraiya's like, huh? But he just ignores and it's just like, alright, I would like you to train with the Toads and myself into learning Sage mode. I think you could become a perfect Sage. And Naruto's like, alright. But something comes up, Jiraiya actually ends up having to go on a mission instead, so they're like, alright, we'll postpone this for now and we'll get it done later. And Naruto's like, okay, I have no problem waiting. I'm strong enough as is right now. I managed to fight off Orochimaru. And Jiraiya's like, what? Excuse me? What? What do you mean you fought off Orochimaru? And Naruto's like, yeah, he was in the Forest of Death trying to do some weird Diddy shit to Sasuke. And he's just like, oh my god. Did he manage to bite Sasuke? And Naruto's like, nah, I ran his fade. He ended up retreating because he couldn't do anything to me. And Jiraiya's like, what do you mean he couldn't do anything to you? And Naruto's like, secret. And Jiraiya's like, alright, I'll leave that to you then. And Jiraiya, as he's leaving, is like, oh, by the way, Naruto, you know how you're Nine-Tails Jinchuriki? You should probably learn about the Nine-Tails or something. Figure out how to use his power, too. Could turn out beneficial for you. And Naruto's like, you might be right. But Naruto's also thinking, he doesn't want to make Kurama his slave, because that's no fun. He's going to befriend Kurama, because that feels like more of a challenge. And so, Naruto, he doesn't have much trouble going to his mindscape and trying to talk to Kurama and stuff. He just does. And so, Naruto ends up having a few conversations with Kurama that really led nowhere during this month period, and he trains on his own because Jiraiya ended up having to leave. And so, after all this, they have their 1v1 battles. Naruto, no diffs, and things remain canonical after that. Sasuke penetrates Gaara's shoulder, he starts to tweak out, blah blah blah. Naruto chases after Sasuke and Gaara. Hiruzen's trapped by Orochimaru, stuff like that. Naruto, who went with Sasuke, let Sasuke fight his own battle, because Naruto understood that if he intervened, Sasuke would never learn on his own, if that makes sense. And so he let Sasuke get his ass whooped and only came in whenever Sasuke was about to die or something. And Naruto, said, you were about to die? I was going to let you do this on your own, but I can't let you die either, bro. And Sasuke is just like, I bet. Because He's just begun to understand that there's no point in arguing with Naruto. He's always right. And so Naruto ends up beginning to run Gaara's fade, and that's when Gaara hits him with the dead possum jutsu. And Naruto's like, so you're putting yourself to sleep to awaken the One-Tails. Interesting idea, but isn't he what you've been trying to suppress? Whatever. And he sees Gaara on top of the One-Tails, and Naruto's just like, interesting. And Naruto's just like, I bet. And then he starts using his, like, the summoning jutsu aspect that he can just use from pouring chakra into a seal. And he's just summoning, like, doors and stuff, and he just starts speeding up to the top of the One-Tails, and he pulls up to the top, and immediately punches Gaara straight in the face, making him bounce off the sand, fly out of it, and wake up. And that's when Gaara's falling, and Naruto catches him. He's just like, you good, bro? And Gaara's like, why? Why would you help your enemy? And Naruto's just like, bruh, I get it, bro. You have a demon inside of you that you can't control, and there ain't much you can do about it. But, you know, at the end of the day, you do have those who care for you, much like I do. You might not have gotten that love when you were younger like I did, but at the end of the day, look at Kankuro, look at Temari, look how much they are worried about you. And Gaara has this moment of realization, much like he does in canon, and Naruto just, you know, throws him over to Kankuro, and Kankuro catches him, and he's just like, leave. And that's when Naruto ends up running back to Hidden Leaf Village, and that's when he finds out Hiruzen has been killed, and Naruto, he isn't as upset as he was in canon, but he's like, damn it. If I had stayed, but Sasuke would have died. I know I made the right choice, but I could have saved... If I was faster, I could have saved both. And Kakashi notices that Naruto's beginning to, like, spiral, thinking he could have done something, because that's the price that's coming with Naruto's powers, that he thinks he has to protect everybody, but it's just not possible. And so Naruto is spiraling, and Kakashi just puts his hand on his shoulder. He's just like, there's nothing you could have done. Not this time. And that's the only thing that's actually getting Naruto emotional, is that he feels like he failed the Hidden Leaf, that he failed people. And for someone who never really failed, it's making Naruto distraught. And Kakashi is just like, it'll be fine. That's when Jiraiya returns to the village. He's just like, well, I have some good news for you, at least, Naruto. And Naruto's like, yeah, what could that be? We're going to go get your mother. Well, that's what you call her, right? You call Tsunade mom? She is your godmother, but, you know, since she raised you, I'm not sure how you actually refer to her. He's like, yeah, she's just mom to me. And Jiraiya's like, yeah. Though she hasn't told you about your parents yet, has she? And Naruto's like, no, not yet, unfortunately. I'd like to know more about them. He's just like, you'll get to find out about them too. Fun fact, I was your godfather. And Naruto's like, huh? And he's just like, yeah, your father was one of my students. And well, your mother was Tsunade's best friend. And Naruto's like, really? And so Naruto ends up going with Jiraiya. They travel. Jiraiya just chats with them, but he doesn't teach him Sage Mode because that would get in the way at the moment. Eventually, they find Tsunade, and Naruto walks up to her and is just like, how you doing, you old hag? And Tsunade immediately punches him on the head at full force, and he just slams into the ground, basically bouncing off the ground and back up. He's just like, ow, what was that for? And she's like, you're calling your mother an old hag? What? Excuse me? Naruto's like, damn, I'm sorry. And Jiraiya's there. It's just like, hello, Tsunade. And Tsunade's like, ugh, what are you doing here with the pervy sage? And Naruto's like, I actually never really questioned it. Why are we going to go get her? And Jiraiya's like, I'd like you to become Hokage. They asked me to do it, but I cannot. I don't got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. I'm never doing that shit again. That was so cringy. But yeah, and so Tsunade actually, in this timeline, thinks about it and ends up agreeing without too much complaint. Because in this timeline, she's healed, basically. She doesn't have her fear of blood anymore. And she's a lot more willing due to Naruto, really. And so, Naruto, Shizune, Jiraiya, they all head back to Hidden Leaf. She doesn't mention her interaction with Orochimaru because she's just ignoring him anyway. And they all head back. Tsunade becomes the next Hokage, and the village is starting to get stable again. And that's when Jiraiya is just like, I think it's time, because in this timeline, the Sound 4 don't come for Sasuke. There was no curse mark. There was no P. Diddy shit going on. No manipulation. Sasuke just wants to stay anyway, even if it did happen. And Naruto and Jiraiya go for their time skip.
3 years later.
During this time skip, Naruto has learned Sage Mode, mastered it. He's also mastered the Frog Kumite, or whatever the hell it's called. And so, Naruto has begun incorporating that fighting style into the way he fights, as well as he's just been staying in Sage Mode as long as possible, trying to get used to it, up his time limit, stuff like that. And during this 3-year time skip, he's begun cracking Kurama's shell, if that makes sense. He started getting responses because he's just been so pushing. Kurama's just like, I bet I'm just chat because I got nothing else to do. And so things have really progressed during this 3-year time skip. Sasuke has unlocked the 3 Tomoe. He's become extremely proficient in taijutsu and stuff that he can actually keep up with Kakashi by himself. Sakura trained with Tsunade in healing and stuff like that, something Naruto really never learned because he didn't really care enough to, and plus his thing makes him invulnerable anyway. And so things like that, all that occurs, and yeah, they come back, Naruto comes back to the village, they all hang out, and then they have this big test where it's actually Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Kakashi versus Naruto, Sakura, and Sasuke. Naruto, Sakura, and Sasuke win because Sasuke ends up barely getting the edge on Kakashi, beating him. Obviously, Kakashi didn't use his Mangekyo in this. Tsunade does end up beating Sakura by a nice bit, but it's not like Sakura's weak or nothing. And Naruto destroys Jiraiya and manages to piece up Tsunade as well. And so, with this kind of balanced regime now that they got running, they have very little trouble, working together. Like, they just feel like it works really well. Anyways, after this whole test and everything, they're all in the Hokage's office, and Tsunade's about to send them on a mission, get back into the groove. And that's when somebody's like, oh my god, the Kazekage has been kidnapped! I don't know what the hell all that noise I just made was, but the point is there. And Naruto immediately is pissed. Because he knows what's going on, because Jiraiya's told him everything, basically, like, the Akatsuki, stuff like that. And Naruto's alright. Nah, this shit don't fly. And Naruto's like, alright, we're going to save the Kazekage. And Tsunade's like, I never even gave you the mission. And Naruto really looks at her and is just like, Mom, do you really think you weren't going to give me the mission? She's like, fair enough. I have no argument against that. And so they leave for the thing, and honestly, they get there in record time. Temari has a lot of trouble keeping up. At one point, she has to get on Naruto's back. And they're just gone. They're zooming. And so, they eventually arrive. Kankuro's poisoned. Sakura's gone to cure him. Naruto, Sasuke, and Kakashi, they're just gone. They're gone to hunt down where he is. They find it. And Naruto's like, you think you can keep me out, huh? You're funny. And he destroys the boulder with one punch. The thing just crumbles. And in the Kazekage, he's just like, what? And it's while Gaara's still getting the One Tails extracted, so he doesn't end up getting the whole One Tails extracted, just like 80% of it, so Gaara does survive. And I'm gonna be so honest, Naruto speed blitzes Deidara, completely knocking him out instantaneously. And then, like, Sasori tries to fight them, but it's really there's no competition. They just get demolished. Naruto then carries Gaara back to the village and, the whole handshake thing, and they return to the Hidden Leaf. Understanding the current scenario of things, there's no Sasuke retrieval or anything like that, so there's not too many problems. Jiraiya ends up going to go see the Hidden Rain, trying to figure out things there. And that's when, in this timeline, Jiraiya, he cooks. Jiraiya's gotten stronger and figured out Sage Mode, so he's almost a perfect Sage. He's still a little worse than Naruto, but He's better than he was in canon. And more than that, he doesn't need Pa and Ma to use his Sage Mode or anything. But he still summons them for the, tag teaming bit. And eventually, Jiraiya, he's getting boxed up, alright? And I want to point out, Sasuke has not gone to Itachi yet. Itachi hasn't sent the crow due to the current scenario. Not yet, at least. And Jiraiya's getting boxed up. And that's when he sends Ma back. And that's when he gets Ma to reverse summon fucking Naruto all the way back to Jiraiya. Naruto's just like, what's going on? I'm still in my jammies. What do you mean I'm here now? Naruto's like, alright. What I'm hearing is I gotta save your old ass again. Jiraiya's like, again? Excuse me? And Naruto's like, just kidding. And so he immediately opens domain. He's just like, instead of saying summoning jutsu, he goes, domain expansion. And that's when the entire area turns into a fucking casino. You just see a fucking roulette thing, a slots machine just going and going and going. And eventually it hits the 777. And you know what that means.
Immortality.
Pain starts trying to stab Naruto, and Naruto is just like, you're funny, and just boxes up all the paths of Pain, just completely destroying them. And he understands. He immediately figures out that the black rods inside of Pain are what's actually keeping him, functioning. So he takes them all out of every single Pain. He's just zooming, taking a black rod after black rod, because he's in Sage mode right now, and he's just speed blitzing Pain. I'm gonna be so fucking honest. And that's when Pain's just like, you will regret this. And Naruto's like, I don't think I will. And that's when they all go back to the Hidden Leaf, Naruto, Jiraiya, stuff like that. They explain the whole situation. Jiraiya explains that the real one was not there. The real one was Nagato. And Tsunade's like, your former student? And Jiraiya's like, yeah. Oh my, what could have happened? Actually, now that I think about it, I do think I heard about Hanzo killing Yahiko. Ah, I see. In his grief, he got misconstrued, perhaps manipulated by an outside force, and this is what he's become. And Jiraiya is kind of heartbroken, and Naruto is just like, nah, bro, I can't let this shit slide. So eventually, things remain pretty canonical, except there's no Sasuke retrieval. The crow does come, Sasuke does go, and so does Kakashi and Sakura. Kakashi and Sakura fight Kisame while Sasuke fights Itachi. Everything comes to fruition. Obito tells Sasuke the truth. But even though Sasuke now knows the truth, he does go with Obito, but he's not opting to betray the Hidden Leaf. He's going because he believes getting Itachi's eyes will make him powerful enough to stand up to whatever force he will ever need to stand up to again with his Mangekyo Sharingan. And yet, things remain pretty crazy. Eventually, Pain does pull up to the Hidden Leaf, destroying it. And that's when Naruto actually goes to the tree. He doesn't even fight the paths because he doesn't need to. Because at this point, Sasuke is already back, Kakashi's there, and everybody's already so much stronger that he believes he can leave them in their hands. Naruto then goes over to the tree and he talks to Pain. And Pain hits them with a Rinne rebirth. Naruto doesn't want Pain to die though, so he ends up giving him a bit of his chakra. Because he's just like, you gotta suffer the consequences of your actions. It is unfortunate, but yeah. And Pain's like, I understand. So Pain is stuck in the Hidden Leaf. Konan, they were able to make the argument that she was being threatened by Pain, blah, blah, blah. So she isn't really in prison. And she's actually considered to be an S-rank shinobi who works for Hidden Leaf now. Obito ends up trying to infiltrate, but it does not go well. Yeah, and I mean, Obito ends up pulling up on Naruto when he's by himself with Kisame and Zetsu. But I'm gonna be so honest, Naruto has no trouble with them. And I know I kind of speed ran this last little bit of the what if, but truthfully, after Naruto gets his stage mode, even without Kurama, he's just too OP with his domain expansion. if it makes you feel better, he does end up becoming friends with Kurama at the end. He marries Hinata because I'm not changing the whole romance. It cannot be fucking bothered. And yeah, I mean, Naruto just ends the war by himself. He keeps Sasuke on the good side. Stuff like that. I'm sorry if this is not like the story you guys were hoping for. Maybe one day in the future I'll remake it, but for me it was really hard to actually make this movie because having made a part 1 2 times a whole month ago, it was just hard for me to want to do it. But if I ever do remake it, trust it'll be 10 times better than this shit. Anyways, I love you all. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time. Peace!